Money, the foundation of modern society, the currency that governs our lives, the elusive and enigmatic concept that has perplexed humanity for centuries. But what makes a piece of paper, a string of digits, or a shiny metal disc so valuable? What's the power that drives nations, fuels economies, and shapes our destiny? Money's more than just a means of exchange. It's a social construct that reflects the values and beliefs of the society that uses it. It's a symbol of trust, a representation of power, and a conduit of influence. Money's a complex social construct that has evolved over centuries to facilitate the exchange of goods and services between individuals and groups. At its core, money is simply a shared agreement or belief in the value of a particular object or symbol, such as paper currency, coins, or digital tokens. Think of it as a game of make-believe we all agree to play. We pretend that these pieces of paper or digital bits have value and can be traded for real goods and services. This shared belief is what gives money its power and allows it to function as a medium of exchange and store of value, at least in theory. Because in theory, money must be a store of value and maintain its purchasing power over a long period of time. But in reality, the value of the US dollar has lost more than 96% of its purchasing power since the creation of the Federal Reserve in 1913. So the reality doesn't fit with the definition of money, right? Yeah, but then what is the actual definition of money? Let's say money's simply an idea, a shared illusion that we've all agreed to buy into. Money's been an essential part of our lives since ancient times. The trading and commercial activities of these ancient civilizations laid the foundations for what's now a very developed, modern system of commerce and finance. In the beginning, people used bartering to trade goods and services. Bartering means exchanging one good or skill for another. For example, you're a skilled carpenter and you need some fresh vegetables to make dinner. You might approach a local farmer and offer to build them a new chicken coop in exchange for a basket of fresh vegetables. The farmer, who needs a new coop, agrees to the trade. And voila! You've successfully bartered for your dinner ingredients. Or you might find yourself trading a guitar lesson for a haircut, or exchanging handmade jewelry for a basket of fresh eggs. While bartering was an essential economic activity in ancient times, it did have some downsides that eventually led to its evolution. The major downsides of bartering were that it required a double coincidence of wants and the lack of a standardized measure of value. Without a common currency or exchange rate, it was hard to assess the relative value of different goods or services. This often led to disputes and difficulties in reaching mutually beneficial agreements. Over time, people began to adopt more standardized forms of currency, such as shells, beads, and precious metals like gold and silver. These objects were widely recognized as valuable and could be easily traded for other goods and services. The first known coins were minted in the ancient kingdom of Lydia, in present-day Turkey, around 600 BC. These coins were made of a mixture of gold and silver and stamped with a seal to indicate their value. This invention revolutionized the concept of money, as it provided a standardized form of currency that was widely recognized and accepted. As civilizations grew and expanded, so did their need for more sophisticated financial systems. In ancient Rome, a complex banking and credit system developed, with moneylenders providing loans and managing accounts for wealthy merchants and landowners. The medieval period saw the emergence of paper money, as Chinese emperors began issuing paper notes to be used as currency. In Europe, banks and other financial institutions began to emerge, offering various services from lending money to storing valuables. Today, the money that we use is called fiat currency. The word fiat is a Latin word that means "let it be done." The only reason fiat currency is valuable is that the government says it's valuable. Without government backing, fiat money has no inherent benefit. The US dollar has been the world's dominant reserve currency for more than a century, and the US government's monetary policies have had far-reaching implications for global financial systems. One of the defining moments in US monetary history was the adoption of the gold standard in 1913, which tied the value of the US dollar to gold. But in 1971, President Richard Nixon ended the convertibility of the US dollar to gold, effectively ending the gold standard. Since then, the US dollar has been a fiat currency, meaning its value is not tied to any physical commodity like gold. Instead, its value is determined by the international market's supply and demand for US dollars. It's a question that most people never think to ask, assuming that money's simply there, always available when we need it. But the truth is much more complex and much more fascinating. Money's created in different ways depending on the type of money in question. Physical currency, such as coins and banknotes, is created and distributed by central banks, such as the Federal Reserve in the United States. The Fed has the power to print more money if it wishes to stimulate the economy. This will result in an increase in money in circulation for people to use. However, the physical bills are only about 3% of the money supply. The vast majority, about 97% of the money supply in circulation, is created digitally by private banks. You see, when you deposit money into a bank, they don't just tuck it away into a vault for safekeeping. No, they take that money and lend it out to other customers, charging interest on the loans. But here's the real kicker. They're allowed to lend out more money than they actually have in deposits. It's called fractional reserve banking, and it's how they create money out of thin air. Let's break it down. Say you deposit $1,000 into your bank account. The bank's then required to keep a fraction of that on reserve, let's say 10% or $100. But they're allowed to lend out the remaining $900 to someone else. That person takes the $900 and deposits it into their account at another bank. That bank's also required to keep a fraction of it on reserve, but they can lend out the rest, and so on and so on. Suddenly, that initial $1,000 has turned into $10,000 or more, all created by the magic of the banking system. Simply, it's passed from hand to hand, growing and multiplying as it goes. But wait, there's more. Banks don't just create money through fractional reserve banking, they also create it through debt. When a bank makes a loan, they're not just handing over money from their vaults, they're actually creating new money out of thin air. Let's say you want to buy a house and need to borrow $200,000 from the bank. The bank doesn't need to have $200,000 in reserves to lend to you. They simply create the money by typing in a few digits on their computer. It may seem like magic, but it's all based on the promise of the borrower to pay back the loan with interest. So when a borrower takes out a loan, it's both an asset to the bank and a liability to the borrower. As the borrower spends the newly created money in the economy, it circulates through the system, allowing for increased economic activity and growth. In the future, when the borrower repays the loan, plus interest, the asset and liability disappear, and the transaction's settled. Through this lending process, banks can create new money and make profits from the interest. However, the creation of debt-based money has risks. If too many people default on their loans, it could create a ripple effect that can destabilize the entire financial system, as we saw during the 2008 financial crisis. So this is it. Thank you for watching until the end. If you like this video, make sure you click the like button and subscribe for more money-related videos.